And as you breathe in, take a nice long, deep breath in, maybe to a 4 count, and hold it for 4, and then release it with an open mouth to 4. And continue in that 4 count process of breathing in, holding, and letting go. And this morning's word is sorrow. And you may choose to focus on that word or return to I am or to Om. A lot of times I use God is on the in breath, I am on the out breath. And so just continue with that deep breathing of accepting and releasing and focusing on one word. The life of divinity is unrestricted and unopposed. Today I call it the absolute source. This absolute source is forever harmonizing all of creation, infinite and eternal. It is the great giver of life and the home of creation itself. Infinite possibilities flow from the source. All beings are included in the expression of its endless good. Therefore, I am an expression of this endless good. My life is a unique aspect of the divine life. All of the good that flows from the source flows through me and my life. I open my mind to the wealth of infinite possibilities for transformation. I affirm that the inner knower within me is guiding me to my highest expression of good. I surrender to its guidance. I open my heart to that which is calling me forward. I commit to the practices that bring greater awareness. The absolute source is pouring its good into my life in every moment, and I am receptive to it. I celebrate this powerful realization of the action of the absolute source in my life. I release this word into the law of mind, knowing it is made manifest in my experience. And so it is. Let's see, Peggy, I got you at the top of the screen. How about the definition this morning?
Sorrow, a feeling of deep distress caused by loss, disappointment, or other misfortunes suffered by oneself or others.
And I'm sure that's from the online dictionary. Okay. Terry, how about the quote?
Every life has a measure of sorrow, and sometimes this is what awakens us, by Stephen Tyler.
Ron, how about the Bible? Unmute, Ron. Unmute, Ron.
Bottom left, Ron. Mm.
You're back.
There you are.
Yay!
Yes. Okay, from Mark 14, 32 to 34. And they came to a place which is called Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, "Sit down here while I pray." And he took with him Peter and James and John, and he began to be sorrowful and depressed.
And of course, that is the night that he was taken. Today's reading is from one of my very most favorite authors in books called How Then Shall We Live, Wayne Mueller. Several of us heard him speak at a Selamar many years ago. While it is true the sorrow alone is incapable of defining our essential spiritual nature, we must acknowledge that our sorrow invariably gives shape and texture to our existence. I grew up in an alcoholic family. At an early age, I was addicted to drugs. I received a head injury, an accident that forced me to accept a constant level of pain in my body, a headache every day, despite the ministrations of a rich and generous host of healers. I have spent my life intimately involved with those in pain. Many of my friends and family have died. When I was 29, I watched my best friend die of cancer, sitting with him as his body convulsed in pain, listening as his final breath on this earth sighed out of his tumor-ridden body. I have lost countless friends and patients to AIDS. I realize that some of my dreams have not come true, and I know now that others may never come true. I also see that despite my best efforts, many people still suffer and that their sorrow comes to live in their eyes. Whenever I become aware of another's suffering, I invariably feel myself in the presence of something both sacred and deeply human, something fundamentally true that offers a glimpse into the nature of all things. Ironically, perhaps it is those who have suffered in their journey of healing and courage that I have perceived most clearly the miraculous, breathtaking resilience of the human spirit. In the housing projects of Boston, children have taken me by hand and led me into their homes, where I was always fed simple meals and with great love. In the often squalid barrios of Lima, I was taught by a group of teenagers to play songs in praise of God on the quena, the Peruvian flute. They took tremendous delight in my fumbling attempts to master the art of blowing across the holes, laughing with joyful encouragement whenever I made a sound that came close to getting it right. Sitting in prisons with gang members and criminals, I have shared both the heartbreak and the hope of people raised with violence and poverty. I have been privileged to work with people who were abused, neglected, or forced to suffer incest by alcoholic or abusive parents, and yet from somewhere within their pain, cultivated lives of tremendous caring and generosity. I have shared laughter deep and long with people who have had AIDS, marveling with them at the unpredictable twists and turns that life bestows on us all. I have cried tears of gratitude for the blessings of life with those dying from cancer. This is what I've learned. Within the sorrow, there is grace. When we come close to those things that break us down, we touch those things that also break us open. And in that breaking open, we uncover our true nature. Within the story, there is the person in the story. The person comes from Latin personare, which means sounding through. There is an emptiness, a hollowness through which our experience may pass without ultimately defining us. Our life, our experiences, our joys, and our sorrows can sound through us without naming us. This is the point of healing. When we have told the story, we can leave the story behind. What remains is a hidden wholeness, alive and unbroken. In the Christian New Testament, the phrase "be not afraid" is used more than any other. It is useful to recall that people writing the Gospels were being persecuted, arrested, tortured, and murdered. Clearly, they could not possibly have meant "be not afraid" because nothing harmful will ever come to you. Rather, they counseled us to remember always that whatever sorrow or grief, illness, or harm is given us, there is within us a tangible presence, a spirit of God that will bear us up, hold us, and keep us strong. Regardless of how we are hurt, our divine nature will help us bear the weight of it. Our sorrow does not necessarily break us. Our pain is rarely strong enough to quench the fire of the soul, the resilience of the spirit, the essence of our true nature. And so this morning's opening journal statement is "I feel sorrow. I feel sorrow." Okay, go ahead and begin to wrap it up. And who has something they've written they'd like to share this morning?
I'll share.
Thank you, Terry.
I feel sorry for lives unlived and for roads not taken. When I feel sorrow, I search. It was sorrow that sent me searching for a new way of looking at life, for a new belief system, because what I had grown up with did not serve me or comfort me. From Jonathan Livingston Seagull to the Church of Religious Science, I have turned to God with my sorrow and grief. I have sat with many people during their times of sorrow. As a nurse, a chaplain, a minister, I have, I hope, helped to ease other people's sorrows by bringing a presence. I have found as of recently that turning to gratitude, I can feel sorrow and then help to ease it far for being grateful.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share this morning?
Hmm.
Go
Sure.
ahead, Ron.
Okay, thank you. This was a difficult one for me. I thought of some things right away, and so I'm not sure if I captured everything that I wanted to, but so
Ron,
I
you
feel,
don't need to justify.
yeah,
Read.
um,
Just read.
I feel sorrow when the quality of peace and goodness are temporarily lost. There is always a path out of the darkness. My I am sensibilities serve me well. I find it more difficult, however, when others are suffering and I cannot help or do not know how. And then I went to the dark place of the great sorrows of the pandemic and politics will be overcome, but at what cost? And I kind of didn't finish other things, but anyway, that's where I am.
Well, you can finish it later.
Okay, I will.
Not a problem. I'm going to share mine this morning. I feel sorrow when I remember lives lost for reasons I cannot understand. I feel sorrow when I remember those who sat beside me at the DNA center, hoping to find out that their son, father, or mother was not dead. I feel sorrow for children harmed by adults that would abuse them because they could not control their emotions. I feel sorrow when I enter the prisons to work with inmates who didn't have the advantages I did. I feel hope when I see people rise up out of the ashes of hate, anger, and past hurts to heal the pain within as they wander through the dark night of their soul, searching for answers that will set them free from the emotional pain that rises up begging for attention. I feel hope when the sorrow gives way to a remembrance of joy that is relived in love. Anyone else have one they'd like to share before we pray ourselves out? Okay, Terry, I've got you up as our prayer this morning. Oh, by the way, before we do prayer, don't forget the affirmation. I'm choosing peace every day, regardless of the sorrow I may feel. And today, honor the losses in your life. Light a candle, mention the names, and the loss does not have to be a person. The loss can be an animal. It can be something that you lost, like a job. It doesn't have to be just a person. Loss is loss, and that's what brings us sorrow. Go ahead, Terry.
In this moment, there's only God. And with God, each of us live our lives as a part of that holy experience. And as we think about sorrow today and look at the grief that we and others have suffered, I know that all is in divine right action, that all takes place for a purpose, and that nothing is random or out of line. I know that as we move through this day and we experience the beauty, the joy, and the peace of this beautiful spring, that as we move through it, we move through with great joy and appreciation. And we release anything that is unlike that joy and appreciation and move to the place of peace. And I know this is so, and I release it with such gratitude and appreciation for the ability to feel and to release and to be in the presence. And so I let it go, and we say together, and so it is.
Yes.
Amen.
Have a great day, everybody. Always a pleasure to be with you. One more day. And don't forget to print out your Thanksgiving tree before we come together tomorrow morning, because that I sent you via email.
Okay.
Because we'll be using that